Hello and welcome to another episode of What Now? Jom Lepak. With me, Haziq.
Hey, you're right.
Yes, we're switching positions today and we're also switching names. So, as you can see, Haziq isn't with me today, but he's in the background.
Yo,
right?
what's up?
Yes, so this is a creative way of us, I guess it's a new formatting. We're testing this out. Yeah. We're testing out this episode with Haziq being the cameraman and I'm being the host for today's episode. Okay, so now we've talked about a lot of episodes already. We've talked about with Carissa Ong, we've talked with siapa lagi? Elia, Hilal Ashraf, banyak-banyak lagi lah. Okay. Dah bogat lah. Sekarang kita orang tengah stockpile episode. Yeah. You know what, it feels weird looking at you. Yeah. No, it's just I can't see your face. Like, no, we're 5 feet apart, right? Okay, no. Alright. So today we're gonna be a bit more political, right? Because we have two young activists, right?
Wow.
Yes, two young activists, Haziq. Personally for me, I've been following them quite closely ever since diorang boom dekat social media. Okay. Masa actually both you guys were during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
You were like, I think you boomed around 2020 and then you were 2021.
Yeah, something.
Around that time, yeah, okay. So we have two lovely people today with us today in this, well, not in the studio, but HAP. Yeah. So thank you for I guess sending us this place. We didn't even ask. Right. So please welcome Nurul, Rifayah and Husniza.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem. This is your second time, by the way.
Yeah.
First time was with Terima.
True.
Yeah.
But that one is virtually, right?
Virtually. Now we're doing physical. Actually, yeah, you saying?
How long was that?
That was like last year.
Yeah, last
in
year.
May. Yeah, that was like before PRU 15. Yeah, PRU 15. So we were talking about apa itu Uni 18. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we actually ajak ada menteri. Yeah, and then like a few months later, 2 tahun jadi menteri. That was like the weirdest experience, the most amazing experience that we had. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, how you guys all doing?
Yeah, doing good.
Doing good.
Yeah, just had classes, just finished classes.
Oh, you just finished classes?
Yeah.
I see. So you have classes and you tengah cuti.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, kinda. Right. So, no, before we want to get into the episode, right? So yesterday, I went through Google Bard. Okay, so Google Bard is like an AI, right? Where it's like ChatGPT. Okay, generated. I forgot what the P text. Yeah. So I was searching you guys up. Okay, So I want to get some background, whether it's accurate or not. Okay, so here's some things that Google Bard said. Okay, so here are some notable achievements for Husniza. Okay. So this is what Google Bard listed. Okay, this is not me. This is what Google Bard. Okay, she was one of the 100 young people featured in the BBC 100 Women's List in 2021. Is that true?
I have no idea. I don't know. No, I don't know.
You're not sure?
You're not
Yeah,
sure?
I'm
I'm
not
not sure as well. I mean, this is what Google Bard said. So
I'm not sure. I was featured in BBC, but I'm not sure in that list.
I see. Okay, now. Okay, here's another one. She was awarded for the 2021 undergrad Tun Dr. Ismail for her contribution to youth activism.
No. No.
Alright, okay, here's the last one. She was invited, okay, this was a big one, okay? She was invited at the United Nations in New York City in 2022.
All of those achievements was something that I have, but widely exaggerated. I did join a United Nations Southeast Asian conference on violence against children. It was joined by child activists from around the region in Southeast Asia, and we also had the vice representative of the UN there as well, but I wasn't there in the conference
physically. So
and
virtually, was it?
Yeah, and I was awarded an award by the Civil Society Award.
Wow.
But it wasn't by that body.
Okay, faham. Okay, so there's apa? Itu lah tu. Aku punya achievement tak ada lagi kot. Tunggu dulu. We'll win an Emmy award or something.
It feels weird because like they necessarily listed like the achievements that I had, but you know, goreng tambah seasoning.
Bottom line, don't trust AI.
Yeah, don't trust AI yet. I mean, even it said like before like searching it, right, it says it's inaccurate, so faham lah. Okay, let's try Rifayah sekejap. Okay, let's see what did this say. Okay, this is true. She was one of the 18 young people who filed a lawsuit against the Malaysian government for delaying the implementation of Undi 18. Was that true?
That one sah lah.
Okay, that's salah. Kita sah. Okay, mantap. Okay, now she was a speaker of the 2019 World Economic Forum of ASEAN.
It's not World Economic
See, dia tambah. It's like not accurate. Dia macam ada. It happened to us.
But during the same year, yes, I did went to the ASEAN for the forum for the youth participation, most likely in Brunei.
In Brunei. Okay, alright. Somewhat accurate. Boleh lah kan?
Boleh
Okay.
lah.
Now we go to the last one. She was awarded for the 2020 Merdeka Award for her contributions to youth activism.
Oh my god, tak. That's so wrong. No.
Aduh, so
God.
exaggerated. But now
Mana dia dapat?
I tak tahu. I think it's because it's still an experiment by Google. So dia
I
macam
see.
tambah tolak macam tu je lah.
I see.
But since this is based on Google, I'm not sure about you guys. So now this is the best time where we, introduce our guests betul-betul lah. Okay, now why not you guys both introduce yourself, who you are, describe yourself, and maybe tell us your real achievements this time.
You start first lah.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Husniza. Basically what I do is I've been advocating for #Make School Safer Place movement, which started because of an incident back in 2021 during the pandemic where my teacher made an inappropriate joke in class. And basically I advocated for safer schools and safer environment because I believe that in having these sort of safer environments in school, we can have a sort of more conducive learning experience for students, and sexual harassment shouldn't be taken that lightly. And around that time there was also the case with the period spot check, so I believe it coincided greatly and people started pushing for sexual harassment to be taken care of, to be kind of addressed in a more important way for people to see that it's not just a joke, it's something that should be taken seriously. And I think that by next year, finally the anti-sexual harassment bill was finally going to be tabled in Parliament, which has been drafted for the last 20 years.
Wow, that is a long time.
Yeah.
Why so long though?
There was, as we all know, in Parliament, there's things like political will.
Yes, political will.
And for certain things to happen, the public needs to pressure the government to make certain changes. So with the #Make School Safer Place movement and with several body of NGOs for women's rights, like I think if I'm not mistaken, like AWAM, WAO, which they have been drafting the bill, but the law has only been tabled. There needs to be enough pressure for the law to be tabled in Parliament for it to be passed. So only after those kind of movement happen and the public put pressure on it, the government has decided to table the bill.
Wow, at a young age. Damn.
No, we need people like this.
Yeah, we need people like this. Yeah. Hopefully, you become the future minister, future lawyer.
No, it's true, right? Like if we don't have people that come out and talk about this, like people that experience it first hand, tak kena dorang, kan? Or people yang second hand source, maksudnya macam people that hear it from other people won't have enough passion to go as far as macam sampai tahap yang it goes to that point. I think maybe that's the reason why it's been taken maybe 30 years, kan? Kita kena support lah.
So, kena support all the way. Right. Now let's talk about what about you, Rifayah? Describe yourself.
Honestly, I started working with SPM issues. So back then in 2020, my batch is the first batch that we need to sit for SPM during the pandemic. So obviously during that time was like one of the unprecedented time, I would say, and there's no SOPs, there's no guidelines. I mean, we don't know what might happen during the SPM days back then. So that's when I started the #Suara Pelajar movement on social media. and that's when we received a response from the minister back then. But then it's not something that we wanted to hear. You know, you cannot just simply drafted a statement and said that kita tengah mengkaji SOPs dan guidelines yang terperinci. But then end of the day, I think mengkaji sampai korang dah, I don't know, 2023 actually. Yeah, we were searching the guidelines, right? So that's why I started my movement. I realized that even though that I have no interest in politics, doesn't mean that politics doesn't have any interest in me. So that's the reason why no matter what or how you will change the government, it must come and must go through politics. So that's why I realized that, you know, at this age people will take you seriously because you're young, you're unmatured, and also because you don't have any experience in politics. So that's when I decided to fight for 2018. I was one of the applicants for the 2018 lawsuit, where we have a lawsuit against the Prime Minister. During that time is Tan Sri Yassin, and then the government of Malaysia, and then the Suruhanjaya Pilihan Raya, and we demand for the implementation of 2018. And then after that, I decided to advocate about the political literacy, and also, yeah, I've been doing all these things.
Wow, okay. No, like comparing you guys achievement ni macam high lah, very very high. But you said you weren't interested in politics, like before you shouted out not shouted out, like that you raised your concern for the SPM takers at the time. So in some way you kind of had to.
Yeah.
You kind of had to take up politics. Now do you find things more interesting?
I feel like even though that time I'm not really into politics yet, I realized that, you know, because I was one of the members of my debate team back then in high schools. So I believe that eventually we are talking about politics. We are condemn the governments. We are giving like a better implementations, better solutions compared to government itself. But just I don't realize that it may affected me one day sooner or later. Sebab masa time debate, aku fikir aku nak menang je. Aku fikir aku nak best speaker. Aku tak fikir polisi ni, aku fikir semua orang salah, aku je betul. Tapi macam as time goes by, I realise that, you know, I need to do something in real politics, in real way. So that's when I realised that, you know, by SPM issues, nak tak nak, I have to be engaged with politicians, I have to be engaged with political parties. So yeah.
Wow. Tapi macam kalau nak, because you guys are young, right? And then the perception of young people macam orang pandang rendah kan. So how did that feel when you want to first come out and say this is wrong?
I believe that macam do not care about politics is a privilege.
Okay.
Yeah, and when these sort of people say that macam, oh, you don't know anything when you're young, but actually at this point in time I'm 2019 this year, and would people that are like, you know, 70-year-old or people that have not been in the working class for a long time know how it's really like to be the rakyat mahain, to know really how it's like to be the rakyat that's going to be impacted the most by the policies that you are enforcing.
Wow.
The policies that you are enforcing, you will not experience the whole like impact of it yourself. The people like me, people like the youth are the ones that are going to feel the burn of it, and they are going to be the ones that know like how best for the policy to be actually fitting the environment at a certain time, you know. And that's why some of us say that the fact that when they are refusing to sort of collaborate with us, refuse to hear our opinions, it makes their policies not reach the people on the bottom. So it makes their policy sort of useless and kind of like because my experience when I was sort of like going through, like I went to a lot of police stations, right? And what I noticed that sometimes akta ada, bil ada, tapi when it comes to the people on ground, they actually don't know apa akta yang ada. And what happens is that with that, when apa-apa akta punya you enforce dalam parlimen tu, bila dia tak sampai dekat bawah, it means that the parliament has no actual impact on people
whatsoever. Has this been like a continuing problem for every new bill yang pass?
I can't say for every new bill, tapi actually this enforcement issue ada berkait dengan sangat rapat dengan rasuah and those kind of things where dia tak ada it's not transparent, you know. And especially I have a lot more experience in the justice enforcement because I myself kena pergi situ buat report and everything. And what I notice is that sometimes in certain cases, I've dealt with many, where kalau diorang buat report polis, and then polis tu akan klasifikasikan kes tu dekat bawah akta yang salah, walaupun apa-apa that kind of criminal act can be didakwa, boleh didakwa, tapi bila dia dah disiasat bawah akta yang salah, jadi dia jadi tak salah bawah akta tu. So it means macam kalau polis tu sendiri tak tahu akta mana nak klasifikasikan this act under, and polis tu don't really have any idea apa yang tengah berlaku dalam parlimen, then it means that parlimen punya reform has no changes on people on the bottom. So that means kalau kadang-kadang walaupun you betul sebagai mangsa, walaupun apa-apa that criminal act boleh didakwa bawah undang-undang Malaysia, tapi just because the police punya information tak cukup, kes boleh jadi NFA.
Do you have any say into which akta yang kesalahan tu diklasifikasi bawah?
Yes, you do. When you make the report, you can ask, I want this act to be classified under this act. But would you imagine that from a child that was raped, from someone that had no legal knowledge?
How do you feel, Aziz?
Apa dia? Good tu. Tak, first time dengar sebab tak pernah lah awal sini kan. Macam benda macam ni, maybe I went to ikut my mom report accident je lah, tapi like this kind of thing is my first time dengar yang I didn't know that when you had to report something, you would have to report it under kesalahan.
Ya, kena. Sebab especially because I punya expertise is more around sexual harassment, and sexual harassment is actually very vague daripada segi undang-undang tu, it's being defined as what. So kadang-kadang ada verbal harassment, ada physical harassment. So when under and ada juga sexual offences against children. Jadi dalam undang-undang Malaysia, dia ada akta untuk rogol, dia ada akta untuk sexual offences against children, SOAC. And when you are a child, and dia also ada 509 which is macam like insulting someone's dignity, which is very vague, tapi that's more for verbal harassment. So kalau macam that police officer dia tersalah, macam is for example it's a child, and then the child tu kena verbal harassment, tapi it's under SOAC, tapi under SOAC tak ada account into verbal harassment, so the case boleh jadi NFA.
Ooh. Damn.
Yeah.
She felt like she just dropped like.
No, this kind of thing. Jap, I just terfikir lah, because this thing is not, this information is not, it's supposedly available to the public lah. Sebenarnya semua orang has this piece of information. I think like if a person were to ask someone that has gone through this, they would get the information. Like since like both me and Haikal probably that's also first time dengar benda ni. Do you know about this?
Yeah.
Rifayah? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she's my friend. I already told her. She's my friend. So
You told her.
yeah.
So before you told her, she didn't know.
I don't know.
I mean,
she
okay.
already she also kena report police. She also go to police. You tak kena
No,
report
I
police.
went to police station
You
for
okay,
a different cases
for
and different
different
scenarios. Okay, I'm not going to police station to make a report. I've been called to police station
yeah.
for different reasons. So yeah, but yeah, the information is true. But sebagai pelajar undang-undang tipu-tipu, I will say that our federal constitution is not absolute, where we don't really have a power on that knowledge, or maybe we don't have really yes, we have so many lawyers in the country, but we don't really advocate people by telling that, you know, when you pergi police station, this is what you need to know, this is what you should know.
No,
But
I was thinking about that. Do you think they should be taught in schools?
yeah,
Yeah.
but also we should remember that there's also a law, or maybe there's also a policy in our education system where back then, I'm not sure about current scenario, but back then in high school specifically, or in maybe in school specifically, there is a jurisdictions where you cannot be involved in politics and you cannot be engaged with any politicians, and that's when the jurisdictions comes in. And also that's the reason why I said, going back to what I stated before, our federal constitution is not absolute. Why is that? You can see that there's so many protests in the country, but also why is the reason that some of the activists, like the main front line of the activists, being called to IPD so many times? But it's not because of, people always say that, oh, because of protest haram, because of tak ada permit. But there's not even, there's no jurisdiction, there's no law that stated that siapa-siapa yang nak buat protest kena ada permit, because it's already been abolished by the government. But what the police actually submit you is actually under akta lain.
Akta
Because
lain.
you tak minta permohonan ataupun kebenaran from the police. It's not the government, it's the police.
Yeah.
But also, if you tak tahu yang you ada hak untuk minta peguam, then you macam okay lah, then you kenalah jawab semua soalan yang ditanya. But to someone who's already been dah, yang sampai kalau ada orang bagi tahu, okay, kalau you kena panggil, dia boleh ada hak untuk tak jawab, dan you ada hak untuk cakap saya jawab dalam mahkamah. Semua soalan. Tapi untuk orang yang tak tahu, dia akan jawab sebab dia rasa dia buat salah. But there's no salah. Sebab dalam undang-undang, dalam Federal Constitution, you ada hak untuk tidak menjawab, dan you ada hak untuk menjawab dalam mahkamah, dan you ada hak untuk panggil any peguam ataupun lawyers untuk wakilkan diri you. But again, it's something broad, and why should it be, I mean, I agree that it should be ajar sejak daripada bangku sekolah, but it's not something yang easy for us to just implement it in just one short
So
time.
basically untuk you, akta yang sebenarnya yang minta permit tu dah abolish, tapi
Yeah.
lepas tu dia charge you bawa
Lepas tu
akta
dia
lain
charge
pula.
bawa akta lain. Lepas tu I pula charge bawa akta lain. One, saya perlukan peguam. So nanti puan tu pula dia charge juga akta lain. Dia cakap saya ada hak untuk menolak permohonan tuan. Dia
Back and
macam
forth, back and
Yeah.
dia back and forth, back and forth. So that's the reason why our federal constitution is not absolute, but at the same time it is absolute for some reasons. For example, you kena, your rumah kena, let's say lah, for example macam case Ain, you contoh you kena rape, ataupun you kena sexual harassment, ataupun you kena accused about something else. Even so that we have this sexual harassment and all this other stuff, we also need to remember we have a defamation. We can take a defamation, or we can take against to that person. We have a law that actually absolute. Yes, there are so many defamation cases in the country. We have so many battery cases in the country, and this law is very absolute and something that everyone should know, because this is a very common thing. So, I mean, sekian daripada pelajar undang-undang tipu-tipu. But yeah, that's what I can say lah.
But it shows lah yang macam contoh case Rifayah, sometimes yang akta tu sebenarnya di abolish, tapi bila sampai dekat ground zero, dia abuse akta lain pula.
Yeah, again,
So-
even in universities, I'm not sure about like you both of you in universities, but in UiTM, you cannot.
Oh yeah, I know where this is going.
I mean, sabar.
I need to hear this. I need to hear this.
But in UiTM, you cannot. I mean, for UM lah, I think it's very, because you guys have a union. UM is very, I would say that memang mengamalkan demokrasi daripada segi union, mengamalkan suara pelajar dan sebagainya. But in UiTM, it doesn't have any union yet. Yes, we are going towards that, but at the same time, it's actually long overdue. Why is that? It's because we need to remember that UiTM is not under AUKU. UiTM has their own law regarding UiTM. So for example, that everyone is fighting about like, AUKU kena dimansuhkan, AUKU kena reform. But again, you cannot expect that UiTM students, like the rest of like more than 100,000 of UiTM ni, faham kenapa AUKU tu kena abolish. And you cannot marah them because they are not really affecting by this AUKU and so what not, because we have a very our own law yang sememangnya berat sebelah. For example, you can say that we cannot be involved in politics yang bawa nama UiTM. Even so, we tak involved in we tak pergi protes pakai baju UiTM. But even if you get caught by the IPD for investigation, you mesti kena pergi tindakan tata tertib university. And why is that? It's because of mencemarkan nama image UiTM. And why is that? There's another law, there's other provisions under UiTM. And why is that? So again, nak kata undang-undang dalam negara kita ni absolute? Tak juga. Tapi nak kata tak absolute? Tak juga, because that's actually protecting the UiTM.
Yeah.
But apa yang undang-undang yang protect kita. That's why we need to know our rights.
So
We can panggil saksi, we can bring our lawyers, we can panggil for another tindakan tata tertib for cerahan dan sebagainya. So yeah.
Wow.
So I believe that actually consulting the youth on it, then you finally realize how like sometimes the policy making in parliament doesn't reach the ground zero. You abolish AUKU, you ITM ada tindakan tata tertib. You abolish whatever akta that she was supposed to be arrested under, dia charge akta lain pula. Dia buat anti-sexual harassment bill, tapi mungkin polis dekat bawah don't know akta tu exist, then your case ultimately gets NFA.
Also a very simple example, maybe for macam kita tahu undi 18 dah dilaksanakan. Those who are 18 to 20 years old are now eligible untuk vote.
Yes.
But again, that is only in the federal punya level, persekutuan. Kalau kita pergi negeri-negeri, contohnya negeri yang tolak Johor, if you 18, you cannot be calon, but you can vote. And why is that? Why is ada controversy antara satu law to another law, even though it's already been passed in parliament? But again, we cannot ask, adakah Sultan menganiaya parlimen? Adakah Sultan tak menghormati keputusan parlimen ataupun sistem demokrasi? But again, going back to our law, we are actually under constitutional monarchy. So negeri ada hak untuk tentukan prosedur ataupun undang-undang dalam negeri sendiri, because that is actually the reason why we have adun. But we cannot say that the adun sendiri tak menghormati keputusan federal constitution, because under our federal constitution negeri pun ada hak memproduce production diorang sendiri. So yeah, it's a very simple way. So nak cakap absolute ataupun tak,
Faham? Macam tu lah.
paling toiban tu kita follow lah pada betul. So
Damn, that felt like a crash course. Big brain moment, right? This is like the second time we had like someone talking about law to us, The first time was with Nyawa. We did a mini series about mental health, and one of the episodes we did about law, mental health law. Yeah. And I forgot her name. I think her name is Janelle. Yeah, Janelle. Yeah, she was talking like
Oh, my friend.
Oh really? She's your friend?
Yeah.
Oh okay, yeah. So we were talking to Janelle, and then she was like a bullet, like.
is it about like the RUU kesihatan mental?
Yeah. I think it was
Okay.
Acta 2001. I think.
Yeah, it's about the insolvency.
Yeah. So
Okay.
honestly, after hearing that her explanation, it felt like damn, we just learned so many things.
But what's your opinion about the RUU insolvency?
I don't have an opinion. I haven't read too much on the law yet. Yeah.
But it's very interesting. I mean, that law is very interesting generally, because that RUU insolvency is actually focusing to widen the scope of pegawai yang boleh bawa untuk diorang mana-mana sesiapa yang disahkan dia punya skandal mental. Tapi dalam akta tu sebenarnya macam berat sebelah. Why is that? Is because of first, you can masuk ataupun ceroboh rumah mangsa tanpa kebenaran. Second, dalam tempoh 24 jam you kena bawa pergi hospital. Third, buat thing yang paling rare adalah macam there's no provision ataupun there's no definition yang jelas mengenai menangkap. So going back to these main problems, first, if you nak bawa diorang, if you nak ceroboh rumah diorang tanpa kebenaran, and the pegawai sendiri pun termasuk pegawai kebajikan masyarakat, it might lead to something yang bad thing will happen. So how do we need to protect them? Because dalam the RUU insolvency tak ada bagi tahu. Second, when you said that dalam tempoh 24 jam you kena bawa pergi hospital, dia tak bagi tahu radius berapa kilometer. You tak bagi tahu juga like dalam tempoh 24 jam tu diorang boleh hubungi parents diorang tak? They have a right to contact a lawyer tak? They have a right to contact their parents tak? That's not been stated. Third, menangkap, tempoh 24 jam tu lama. So if you nak menangkap, adakah you kena gali dia? Dia bawa pergi lock up dulu yang dia bawa pergi hospital. So that RUU is actually, yes, you can widen the spec of like pegawai insolvency, but how been implemented? So macam
Dia macam
Yeah.
faham.
Yeah.
Damn, I think Aziz, we kinda have to buy a law book or something. We meant to buy a law book or something. Yeah. We meant to do some research or something. Yeah.
No, I mean like when they talk, we can only listen tau.
Yeah, you can
There-
listen, yeah.
There are some episodes where we can like give out our feedback and stuff like that. But like we know some things, but like the one information that you guys have, like if you guys were to ask the same thing, ask back macam what's your opinion? We'll be like, I guess my opinion is your opinion.
But it's fair because you know we're engineering students.
Okay lah. Kalau kita budak law tapi dia tanya
Break. Even though we don't have any sponsors.
It's funny because every episode we have a commercial break. It's either camera overheat ke, SD card
Yeah.
ke, ataupun tiba-tiba tak masalah. Kita biasalah tak masalah.
Betul, you know what we need, but we need to get sponsors soon though.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
New camera ke,
New camera
new microphone ke.
Danny Rahman ke.
Jangan obvious sangat.
Okay, kidding. Okay. So let's move on to so on the first half of what we just talked about, it's like a crash course on like what they know about law. We're talking about police reforms, we're talking about education reforms, we're talking about experience a bit lah. But you know, I think let's go into the core of like being an activist itself kan. Sebab macam not many people can take that role sebab jalannya sangat it's unpredicted lah. It's very full of thorns and thick of thorns, right? So like macam how has it been so far being an activist at a very young age?
Well, for me, I guess like I could say that I was like kind of pushed into the spotlight when I was like 17. So it definitely shaped a lot of my formative years, and I felt like in one way or another, it really kind of all I can say is that I wouldn't wish it on another child, and that's why I do a lot that I do. Like right now I have like advocacy, which is something like that kind of like coaches children to kind of be and advocate themselves and to protect themselves without needing to, you know, be pushed into the spotlight like I was. With the way I was, like Malaysia doesn't have a lot of strict laws around children, so practically everybody was writing articles around me, and a lot of them were kind of inflammatory as well, a lot of hearsay, and it really affected my self-esteem as I kind of as time goes on. So I would say that it's definitely been quite hard to have that title at such a young age.
I see. Like, have you managed to build up your self-esteem from then? Like, would you be more confident compared to back then?
I wouldn't say confident, but I would say tougher. Like, you just kind of like build a tough hide to sort of like deflect all the things that come towards you, because whether you like it or not, there's going to be people that's going to like hurl insults at you, that's going to talk as if they know you, but in fact they don't. And this kind of like, at that time and age, people kind of forgot that I was still a child, that I was still 17.
17.
People started talking about my body, which was really just uncomfortable to have as an experience. So, but one of the things that really kept me going during that time was the fact that there were so many other girls out there, or boys, that were telling me that because of me, they managed to voice out at their school. They managed to feel more braver in kind of voicing out their concerns in their environment. So I think that's one of the things that kind of made me not regret in sort of putting myself out there.
I see. Do you feel the same way as your story though, Rifayah?
Yeah, I think same thing like what I've been through before. I started the hashtag Suara Pelajar back then when I was like 17 years old, and during that time it's very rare because suddenly, you know, out of nowhere tiba-tiba ada budak bising nak SPM di reform kan, and so on back then. So but I'm not regret what I've been through before. Not like honestly, I am grateful back then because despite that we memekak sana sini, we nak reform and so on, I realised that there's so many people back then struggling with mental health issues, and that time during our batch specifically, there are so many students has like, you know, attempted untuk suicide, and then there's so many students jumpa psychiatrist specifically untuk demand for, and you know, what is the next step that we can do kalau tak nak ambil SPM. And yes, I always told this to myself that the moment when I think the country don't want me is actually the moment when the country really needs me.
Wow.
So masa tu I've been like, I kena kecam a lot. People said that I malas nak study, but also back then I'm also struggling with my own mental health because my mom just passed away a few months before I sit for my SPM. And I believe that if aku yang hilang mak dah rasa macam ni, apatah lagi orang yang that time yang masa tu we been swamped with so many news like mak ayah meninggal just one time because of accidents, and then there's so many things
COVID
happening,
and stuff.
and then COVID, and then not just that, then masa tu pula ada like because of PKP dan jauh from the families and stuff. So I always think macam if I yang macam ni dah rasa like nak give up, then how about those yang been suffered much more teruk daripada I. So I cannot just keep quiet and then just tunggu sampai the government demand for an answer. But yes, I do get called by a few institute for educations untuk bincang what's actually the take that we can take untuk these SPM students. And yeah, one of the suggestions is actually untuk do a dual ataupun dual time for SPM. So let's say if you tak boleh untuk ambil this first batch, maybe you can ambil untuk second batch. So selang like 2 months if I'm not mistaken. So we ambil SPM around January, and then those yang tak nak ambil SPM time January, they boleh ambil time maybe masa tu if I'm not mistaken on March. So siapa yang dapat COVID time January tu boleh ambil time March. So siapa yang rasa macam cannot cope time January tu boleh ambil time March. So dia ada 2 options that time. Maybe it's not the best option, but I think the least that the government can do back then. But I'm not saying that what the government tak letak satu SOPs to something that we should bash Dr. Razijide back then. We cannot say that the government is the worst Ministry of Education ever, because they did something, but because of like what I mentioned, it's because of the political wills, and you cannot just do a reform in just a short time. It must be true in Parliament, and that time Parliament tutup. So yeah, I do feel the circumstances, I do feel the masalah in government back then. But of course we cannot just always use the reasons on why we cannot have a reform. So yeah, I do believe in Ain. Again, people are not going to take you seriously at that age. Even so now, Undi 18 dah dilaksanakan. Again, if you look at the bigger picture, Undi 18 dah dilaksanakan. Is it because of political will, or is it because of just a whiff? You need to remember that not every politician in the country agreed for Undi 18 at first place. And also you need to know that this Undi 18 become hit is because of the wave. It's because of there's a lot of younger generations demand for it. And it is because of the wave, it's because of the peer pressure from the grassroots itself to demand the implementation of Undi 18. And even so, if we said that umur belia dah turunkan kepada 15 tahun, and why is that? Program under Kementerian Belia dan Sukan until now, the Parlimen belia, nama for Parlimen belia. But if you nak jadi calon, you kena be 18 and above. But if you nak vote for the calon, 15 tahun dah boleh dah vote. And why is that? Why 15 tahun tu kita bagi peluang untuk diorang masuk Parlimen belia? You cannot say because diorang tak matang, kerajaan yang turunkan umur 15 tahun. You cannot say that 15 tahun tak matang. I start movement 17 tahun, I start my movement 17 tahun. The best debaters di 16 tahun, kebanyakan best debaters in our country in high schools, they can debate much more better than those in Parlimen belia. If you see in Parlimen belia, semua talk about like education in universities reform. They talk about like peluang pekerjaan, gaji tak bermaruah. Tapi isu tentang sekolah, and what makes the government think that issue macam Ain Husniza, macam Ain lalui back then, will take it seriously now? If the government tak take seriously those who are masa itu budak-budak untuk berada dekat dalam tempat demokrasi. So again, if we really are we actually betul-betul menghargai anak muda datang dalam sistem demokrasi, or we are actually following because we nak ikut the trend? So yeah, itulah.
Wow, alright. I think this actually kind of swiftly moving to the next question again. Okay, so since Undi 18 dah dilaksanakan, okay, and then we can see a lot of vocal young people out there, okay. But of course, not all young people are going to be vocal. Not all young people are going to be, pushing for change, right? So, what progress do you see in young people today in nation building? And this is another question. This is a sub question. And then, how important is it for young people to have representation at the highest level of democracy?
If so, like basically the first question is around like how young people can progress on nation building.
Yeah, what do you see that the progress in young people in towards nation building?
So I can see like one of the main differences of our generation today and the generation before us was actually that we are much more exposed to a lot of sources on the internet and to information rather than the people before us. Which means that back in the day where if you were young, you were sort of brainwashed, or you were not brainwashed but maybe doctrined into a certain sort of belief in which that you believe in this because it's what you've been taught all this while. But people these days, young people at this time of age, they can have opinions and thoughts that goes against the current norm, which means that they can bring new perspectives towards nation building. It doesn't always have to be something that's always been in Malaysia. Maybe before this, it's always been about only this amount of wages is allowed. But when we are exposed to a lot of information on how certain policy making on other countries has been doing, like New Zealand, which have obviously been progressing much more faster than us, then we can bring new opinions and thoughts to nation building here. And what I can say for representation at the highest level is that, do you really believe around 60 plus year old people represent people, young people nowadays, which are, and actually the voting age is representation of the average age here, average demographic here in Malaysia, which is the most of us. Most of us are going into the workforce, and we are around 18, 19. But the people who are policymakers are 30 and above. 30, if you're 30, that's already considered young as as someone in parliament. And when you're 30, you've already been like the generation before us. You haven't lived how it is to be us currently. So with someone young at a high decision making place, we can make changes in policy making almost instantly. Someone that's 30 might be delayed in feeling the current changes that someone as young as 18 might be feeling. Someone that's 18 might be feeling the current lag of pandemic. For example, the education. There's currently something called the COVID lag in our education system, where students aren't coping because of what happened in the pandemic. Now, would a 30-year-old be able to feel that education lag? No. Only if you only feel that lag if you're a student that's currently studying there, or maybe you're 19, 18 currently in the workforce, and you feel that lag from the workforce itself. So without having someone in policy making that isn't in that circle, then you wouldn't know what change is happening on ground, and you wouldn't have the resources to make the necessary reforms to fit our current country, to fit our current demographics, to serve our rakyat better. So that's why it's important to have someone representing the youth here in Malaysia to serve our rakyat better. Would you say that if we don't have someone that would represent us in parliament that's young, then most of the young people here in Malaysia wouldn't have someone that can be able to talk on their issues better here in parliament? So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to have young people at the highest level decision.
Actually, I have a question about that. Maybe since you answered that one, I'll pass this to Rifayah lah. She talked about how important it is to have representation, right, of the youth inside of the parliament at highest level of our democracy. So, do you think it's good enough that the government keeps the ears open in an institution yang macam, let's say, diorang cukup-cukup dengar dan tahu daripada perspektif budak-budak. Maksudnya macam bukannya diorang tengok je cakap, oh okay rasanya macam ni lah, but rather diorang macam do actual surveys and get to know what's actually going on, you know, like I said, on the ground and at the base level kan. Do you think that's good enough, or do you think it has to be someone daripada sini yang kat atas tu? Faham tak? You get my question?
Sure.
Yeah.
I like questions. You mean, okay, so I think that it must be two ways. Cannot say that if we so-called the option is good, which is we must have like a representative from that category to be in that level, then apa yang let's say macam YB Syed Saddiq cakap in parliament, maybe it's not good enough lah, because he doesn't have a right person to say about it. Like macam internship, dia cakap pasal gaji tak bermaruah, dia cakap pasal intern tak ada maruah. Then he's not even an intern, he's like what, 5 figures politicians who receive a salary yang cukup nak makan KFC tiap-tiap hari. So but again, to answer the questions, I think it's all about political will. Yes, it is also long overdue untuk bagi yang dekat atas sana faham apa yang jadi kat bawah. Benda kalau tak viral, tak akan ambil tindakan, babe. Benda kalau tak popular, orang tak akan kisah. So this is something that we should aware. But also it is also important that whatever issues that's going on around must disampaikan kepada yang saluran yang betul. By meaning saluran yang betul adalah representative, kena ada rep from maybe perhaps kalau let's say ada apa-apa jadi dekat universiti, that's the reason why kita ada MPP. But again, kalau ada MPP dekat universiti pun tak semua isu yang orang nak bagi tahu dekat MPP. Mesti dia orang rasa macam, oh tak puak aku kena jadi MPP, sebab aku rasa MPP sekarang tak function. But you should know that reform cannot just happen in one day. So to answer your question, I think it should be both ways. But I do believe and I do support by apa yang Ain cakap. We do need a young candidates, and we do need a wakil from the younger generations, a representative from the younger generations to be in the policy making decisions. And why is that happen? Is because of kalau YB Syed Saddiq hari ni tak pursue untuk lakukan undi 18, I don't think now we can actually be part of the democracy system. There must be a way untuk the younger generation, this undi 18 candidates, or not still candidates lah, but this only 18 generations ada candidate yang kita letak for pilihan raya. It should be balanced lah. But I'm not saying that we should need the younger generation to be in policy making decision. It goes back to how this orang-orang tua yang dekat atas sana bersedia untuk to our generation to be part of the democracy system.
But I think betul jugalah, macam now that macam I asked you the question, I also thought about it when you were answering it. I think politicians, they will bring up what interests them. So macam benda tu kalau berkenaan dengan orang macam lagi banyak nak provide kan. So when a younger person is there, that makes it more macam, because it has to do with themselves, they'll be more interested in bringing it up in politics juga lah. So I think betul jugalah. Orang yang kat atas tu pun, katakanlah dia budak muda pun, kalau dia tak tahu benda orang lain nak, dia akan ikut kepala sendiri juga.
But also macam you can see the pattern of Dewan Rakyat and Dewan Negara. In Dewan Rakyat, they are very aggressive about like these issues, because we have that young rep dalam parlimen. Contohnya macam YB yang Sakura, YB Syed Saddiq, kita ada Adam Adli, kita ada Hanayo, kita ada ramai lagi.
Although they are not very that young to
itu dia not considered,
tapi considered
but okay lah, consider boleh juga. So in Dewan Rakyat, they are progressive to talk about like the issue anak muda tentang gaji, tentang soal pekerjaan. Tapi in Dewan Negara, kita tengok jarang bersentuh tentang isu yang juga kebajikan anak muda. Kalau kita tengok pattern-pattern hujah yang diberikan, pattern-pattern usul yang dicadangkan, bukanlah usul yang memberi manfaat kepada anak muda, tetapi manfaat dia kepada 10 ke 30 tahun yang akan datang. So they are talking because benda tu something yang dekat dengan diorang. But kita tak cakap diorang tak kisah pasal anak muda. Kalau tak, undi 18 tu tak akan pas dekat dalam Dewan Negara. But I just say maybe they don't have passion about it, because the gap is very different. So kita pun tak pernah bahaskan untuk kita turunkan umur senator daripada 30 tahun ke 25 ke 21 ke. But also again, dalam senator tu sendiri, dalam Dewan Negara tu sendiri, perbahasan dia lebih orang kata lebih tertumpu kepada proses kerajaan dibentuk ataupun proses kerajaan dalam melakukan sesuatu keputusan. So they also tied with apa yang diorang nak kena kata, because most of them are actually from corporate background. So yeah, but I do hope one day we have a rep in Dewan Negara lah to talk about like issues. Yeah.
Because
No,
kalau
maybe yang in Husniza.
because kalau kita boleh undi, kenapa kita tak boleh jadi calon?
No, exactly.
Like right now, that's the point. Macam we can already vote, so we should have the right to actually
To be a calon as well.
be contesting as well. You know, because then you already take into consideration our opinions of who we want in Dewan Rakyat, Dewan Negara and such. But why can't we ourselves be in Dewan Rakyat untuk voice our own opinions? because I think macam sebenarnya macam political will ke apa kan, but I believe sebenarnya ada banyak orang cakap, because lepas PRU kan ramai yang cakap orang muda ni bodoh, stupid, tak tahu pilih, tak tahu undi, ikut TikTok. But actually like habis yang berpuluh-puluh tahun before ni siapa yang undi? Bukan budak muda, bukan anak muda pun. So like at the end of the day, it really just plays into majority, and for us to actually exercise our rights in democracy. And I think that kalau the Dewan Rakyat really hears about what we have to say on ground, then they can actually realise macam, because they are not using these services, sometimes things fall through, and actually young people are more aware of the issues on ground, of what they of basically macam apa the loopholes in the undang-undang and such. So I believe that we definitely one day should look forward into having an 18-year-old senator. But actually in other countries, I've heard of contestants as young as 16. Maybe kita boleh argue the maturity of them, but actually if they're mature enough to vote, if their opinion is already taken into consideration, then they should have the maturity to voice whatever they have to say in parliament. And sebenarnya I rasa actually the participation of young people in politics is not just so that masalah orang muda dipertengahkan dalam parlimen, tapi sebab sekarang ni the politics in Malaysia needs a very heavy recycling. We literally had a prime minister who's 93 years old and has been prime minister for 2 times, and that really shows you how backlogged our politics circle has really been in Malaysia. It's been the same people having a power struggle up there, fighting against each other, and they've been there since almost pembentukan Malaysia. Seriously, you read back the sejarah, you read, oh my god, he's been there for that long.
And Lim Kit Siang baru je bersalin.
So macam since when since when lagi we nak biar these people yang macam, I mean I'm not denying the contributions that they've done for the country, but it's time for us to move on. Let the young people kind of like take over the jobs. And I think that is actually more dengan lebih banyak candidates is also a very healthy sort of politics, in which macam sekarang ni kan there's this sort of rhetoric lah. I'm not trying to like show I'm inclined towards any party or whatsoever, but macam choosing between the lesser evil. But imagine if there's so much more candidates, then mana nak pilih lesser evil? It's like healthy competition. So
betul?
Yeah.
Same thing in business lah. You know, like
Yeah.
It's a monopoly right now. Macam TNG. Betul.
Janji. Aduh, simpan banyak.
Okay.
Ha?
Okay. Betul lah kau cakap tadi. This girl knows how to talk.
I told you so, man. Aduh. Big moment. Aduh. But itulah, I mean, I guess one thing that for our podcast, we're lucky that we're able to talk to amazing people, and you guys are one of them, part of that journey. Yeah. So macam, it's really nice to hear your insights, and this is the second time, so macam, it's nice to hear that all hope is not lost, we still have young people, and that's what this podcast is all about, it's representing young people. Yeah, because not only like this year itself, we're starting to promote young people itself. We're able to hear the struggles, the opinions and everything. So thank you guys for sharing your thoughts and opinion. Yeah. I'm looking forward for your journey in PPE. Okay. And also with your, I guess you're not taking law, right?
I'm studying public administration, but I belajar law lah.
Okay, betul lah. Okay lah. So I want to tahu kan, like these people become our future ministers, right?
Tengoklah.
Dia macam tengok dulu.
Nak project secretary.
Aduh.
Next time kalau kena sama Sani, tahu.
Tak ada masalah. Kalau korang sorry, my BM jap. Kalau korang macam nak berikan pendapat lagi on our podcast, tak ada masalah. Yeah, we're open to hear many opinions, right? Democracy is about making noise, right? So we have to make noise.
Nanti boleh contact officer saya.
Tak nampak dah hari ni tu.
Tu. Dah on the way kan. Aduh, okay. So thank you guys for coming again, and we really hope that you continue on an amazing journey, whether it's through thick and thin. We'll be here supporting you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Kami ni humble je.
Aduh. Okay, thank you guys for listening to Warna Jamal Lepak. This is Haziq and Haikal, Nurul, Rifayah, and sorry.
Saya Ain Husniza.
Okay. Kita terbalikkan kan. Okay, so you can follow Warna Jamal Lepak on many platforms, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We don't have Twitter. What else do we have, Haziq? Telegram, right?
We do?
Yeah, we do have Telegram.
Okay, we do.
What else do we have?
That's good enough.
Okay, that's good. Okay, you can follow Nurul and Ain.
Balik juga saya.
Okay. You can follow Ain and Nurul kat mana?
On Instagram,
Yeah,
Ain H Saiful Nizam. So on every platform.
And also
Okay,
Rifayah.
I'm Rifayah, only on Instagram. I tak ada Twitter.
Okay lah. And remember to follow. You have also your Ain advocacy,
Yeah,
right?
you guys can look up towards the projects that I'm doing for legal literacy, political literacy, literally any sort of youth empowering projects on Ain advocacy on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, and you can follow Haziq at Hazikado, and on Instagram you can follow me at Saim Haikal at Saim Haikal lah. Okay, so this has been another wrap for Warna Jamal Lepak, and we hope that we continue our journey in making sure that the voices of young people, and and also we're able to share stories and connect to other young people to show that we're able to make a difference. Thank you for listening to Warna Jamal Lepak. Till then, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.